Do you know what reptiles are? They are also called simply lizards. There is an opinion that these creatures are similar to lizards. Their difference from animals is that they are smart and can take the form of a person. You might think I'm crazy, but it's real. Reptilian humans are very tall and muscular, with a different skull shape, 3 fingers on their hands, and scales on their greenish skin. But when they are reincarnated, they can't be distinguished from the common man. Some believe that they want to destroy humanity. Others, on the contrary, that they are friends with us. So why am I doing this? By the way, let's meet first. My name is Inga. This year, because of the quarantine, my parents were forced to leave me in the care of Aunt Leah. I haven't seen her in a long time. This is my mother's half-sister, who politely agreed to look after me while my parents work. They are both doctors. I didn't see much of my aunt, but there was no other way out, and there was no one else to leave me with, so my mother confided with her sister. When I arrived home at night, the first thing that surprised me was that her curtains were drawn during the day, and it was still quite cool. Humidifiers were working everywhere. The rooms were more like a terrarium. It looked creepy from the outside. I automatically looked for pets, lizards, snakes, that sort of thing, but there were none. This surprised me even more. My expression was noticed by Aunt Leah, who asked what was wrong. I said that everything was fine, only it was a little dark, damp, and cool. She laughed and said that she no longer noticed it, that she was quite comfortable in such an environment. This meant that I should not change anything here. I knew it right away. I was shown to my room, which was the last one down the hall. There, my aunt allowed me to open the curtains and turn on the light. I did everything to my liking. At least this made me happy. In the evening, we went down to dinner, and I opened the refrigerator and saw a lot of meat. My aunt laughed again and said that she loved meat and ate it every day. She had almost no vegetables, which was also strange. A couple of days later, I contacted my parents and asked my mother about her sister. But my mother said that as children, they didn't communicate much because they lived in different houses. They began to communicate more closely when they grew up. According to my mother, Aunt Leah was never verbose. She preferred to be alone. That, and only that, made her happy. She is a real introvert, but don't be afraid of her, my daughter. She won't hurt you, my mother assured me, but that wasn't what bothered me. At that time, I had a classmate, Edward. He's a nerd. I mean, he loved studying the animal world. I started a correspondence with him about how I think that something strange and unusual is happening to my aunt. I don't think she's human. Anyway, one day I went into her bedroom to ask for some money and saw that she was lying in the dark, and there were scales on the floor under her feet for some reason. I thought it was more than strange. I told Eddie about it. He first said that I have a rich imagination, and then offered to watch her, what she eats, how she sleeps, moves, and so on. I answered all the questions after a week of observation. It was difficult to see how she was sleeping because she locked the room and almost never left it. What Eddie told me put me in a stupor. What? Reptile? Are you saying that my aunt is a non-existent being who wants to enslave humanity? He said a confident yes, and then began to tell me that even though he was almost a scientist and that science denies this theory, everything is possible in the modern world. According to Edward, people believe in UFOs, but in fact, reptiles are not inferior. They are much smarter, more cruel, and cunning. Be careful, he told me. After these words, I could no longer be at ease in her house. I kept seeing my aunt's strange behavior. She had an ultra-fast reaction. I accidentally dropped a bottle of milk, so she picked it up in a split second, and then I saw her catch a fly with her hands. And it also seemed to me that when you go into her room, her eyes become a strange color or shape. But what is most important, I think I noticed her tail when she came out of the bathroom. It was sticking out a little under the towel. It was terribly scary. Confused, with my head full of thoughts, every day became more unbearable than the previous one. Now I could not sleep at night when my life was in danger. Eddie said that if I felt like food instead of a guest, it would be time for me to go on the offensive. As my parents won't be picking me up for a while, I'll have to take care of myself. So, we worked out a plan, and I did it step by step, so that I could get her mad and I could get a video of it. Eddie dreamed of this kind of proof. So first, I emptied the refrigerator, donating meat to the poor. During the quarantine, food was not at all superfluous. Then, I turned off all the humidifiers in the house, took off the dark curtains supposedly for washing, opened the windows and doors wide. The house was immediately hit by fresh air, the warmth of the spring sun, bright light, and the mood immediately lifted. She ran out of the bedroom, screaming about what was going on, and I put on an innocent face and said that I was cleaning up. She ran to the rooms, and every time she came across a light, she closed her eyes, trying to cover the windows in a panic. She was swearing and almost knocked me down in her haste. I stood and filmed everything on the camera, but for some reason it did not reincarnate, did not become green and tall. My aunt ran into the room and came out in the evening. She pretended that nothing was happening, and then she reached into the refrigerator, saw that there was no meat, and called me. She calmly asked where the food was, and I said I gave it to the beggars. Well, then my aunt began to slowly start up. She began to breathe heavily with anger, only she did not turn green, but on the contrary, blushed. I pulled out my cell phone, trying to get a picture of her on camera, and she started yelling, like, what's going on with me? I shouted back, what's happening to me? What's going on with you? Admit it, I know who you are. She looked at me with a stupid look and screamed, what are you talking about? And then I burst out. I already thought that if she was a reptile, then let her take off her mask. Then I listed the arguments about the dark room, its isolation in the room, a lot of meat and humidity. My aunt had an answer, and to be honest, then I felt terribly ashamed. It turns out that my aunt recently had an operation on her pupils, so she kept the whole house dark. It was painful for her to look at daylight. The doctor ordered her to eat more meat because her body lacks vitamins, and because of seasonal allergies, she does not open the windows and keeps a certain humidity temperature so as not to sneeze. That's all. When I told Eddie about this, he took a deep breath and even got upset. I breathed a sigh of relief. I apologized to my aunt and went on with my life. I don't know if these reptiles of yours exist or not, but they certainly don't exist in my house, my aunt said, and then went to her room. And then I saw a small ponytail sticking out from under the robe. Damn it.